Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob McDonald, aka Darth Ward, aka the Dark Lord himself. You can call me whatever you want. That intro was a little not too great, but still fun regardless. It's fun because I am back here on Rebel Scum podcast on the YouTube channel, doing videos again, which is the great part. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, because why wouldn't you be? You love Rebel Scum podcast, then become a Patreon subscriber because there's a lot of really cool content coming up and whatnot. But specifically, if you're already a Patreon subscriber, you would know that I was back because I did a little Sithcast. A Sithcast, I think is what we're calling it. It is talking Sith. Me talking for about like 15 minutes. And specifically this time, I was talking about the Rise of Skywalker final trailer. You might have heard of it. It might have taken up most of your Monday evening last week. It was an awesome trailer, and you hear kind of me break it down, and I kind of play it on the air as well, react to it live. It was a great trailer. I'm seeing the movie twice in one evening, which is the crazy part. Just going from one screening to another at 7 p.m., then another 10:15 screening immediately after the 7 o'clock one. So it's very cool. However, I'm not here to talk about Rise of Skywalker right now. I'm here to talk about something that I think I might be hyped for more than the Rise of Skywalker, and that is The Mandalorian. First ever live action Star Wars show. I'm completely hyped for it. If you know anything about me, I've been hyped for this show for the past 8 to 12 months, even before that, but extremely hyped for it around that time frame. That's when I kind of got sold, and I was just like, I gotta see this thing. Jon Favreau's making something special, and it's gonna be something that everybody's gonna want to see. So that is the show that we were talking about, The Mandalorian. And this show specifically is Who is the Mandalorian? The Road to the Mandalorian. That's kind of what it was called when Andrew did the very first episode a few weeks ago. Speaking of Andrew, him and James have been doing all these episodes. They've been great. They've been breaking down some different characters like Bo-Katan, Kyrie Crazy, I believe, or whatnot. But regardless, those are some of the ones that they've been breaking down. And it's very cool. Specifically about my video and what you probably know about who I'm connecting it to here. Andrew did such a good job in that very first episode of breaking down specifically what we know about the Mandalorian so far and what Mandalore would be like at that time, and just break it down and what role he could have played in Mandalore at that time. So without any further ado, I will show who I believe is connected to the Mandalorian right now. Let's just show it off right here. If you know that Funko Pop, why wouldn't you? Because he kind of just looks like the figure, and like he did in the movies, that is Commander Cody himself. And I believe that there's a strong possibility that he could be connected to Commander Cody in some way. I'm going to kind of break it down here. But in general, I think just for comparison's sakes, you guys should watch that very first video that Andrew did. So give it a watch if you haven't already. I will wait right here. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. That's me with doing some comedy. But there was your chance. You could have paused it right there during my horrible little Jeopardy melody and gone to watch the video, and now watch mine, because mine kind of compares to his a little bit, but I'm changing a few things about it because he kind of broke it down that it's like his role, Pedro, as he called the Mandalorian in that video, could have been like his age, like Pedro Pascal's actual age, I believe is in his early 40s. So if you clock that back at the end of Revenge of the Sith, that would have made him about 17, I believe Andrew said, right? So in his late teens. However, we know TV, and we know how TV and movies work a lot of times, and there's so many times where you got like a mid-20 something playing a teenager in high school. So many times. So I'm going to clock it back even more. I'm going to say that Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian, Pedro himself, is more in his mid-30s. So specifically, if we're breaking down that way, I think that would automatically then make him in his early teens at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then if we move into where Mandalore at least was going from that point, I mean, we compare it. It's like there was a lot of uproar about people taking power, right? Like, it's the constant sieges on Mandalore. You can watch that little video that I talked about, the history of Mandalore. It's a really cool video. I enjoyed looking into all the history of it all. So it was a one way back and for Rebel Scum, but I believe it was called History of Mandalore. That was a very cool video to do. But it's like at that point, the Emperor went into power. The Empire went into power, I should say. And what happened at that point on Mandalore, at least, was that first, not Duchess Satine, Bo-Katan took power, the Duchess Satine's sister, but then because she didn't want to fold to the Empire, she was taken out of power by Clan Saxon, and specifically Gar Saxon, who took power at that point, and then basically kind of like folded in the Empire, and actually Mandalore became a Imperial Academy, essentially. So that's where they started training the new troops, because we know that the clone troopers were decommissioned and they were no longer needed, and they brought in a new group of people. So specifically about this guy, now talking about it, in terms of his actual like canon history, at least what we call canon now, we don't know really what happened to him after the events of Revenge of the Sith, after the events of Order 66. However, if you fold in legend stuff about Commander Cody and what he had been doing after that point, which I think is very possible because Disney has been open to at least folding some parts of Legends in and just tweaking it a little bit. So in my pitch right now, I'm saying that they're going to fold in Commander Cody's history a little bit into canon now. And in Legends, Commander Cody's history after Order 66 was actually that he was commissioned as a trainer, as like a person that was training the new batch of stormtroopers. So he was training those new people. And if we were going to fold that into this, then I think it would be very cool if the Mandalorian showed that he was actually training the troops in that Imperial Academy on Mandalore. Specifically, so training up the new troops, and if we're talking about at that time possibly being in his late teens now, since he was his early teens at the time of Revenge of the Sith, and then going a couple years after that to when they're starting to train up their new recruits and whatnot, train up the new Imperial Academy, which could be like a little bit further. So, maybe it would put him into his 20s and whatnot for the Mandalorian, for Pedro, as Andrew was calling him. Then that would put him in line for training and for becoming a stormtrooper, at least at that time. I think it would be really cool in general that Commander Cody is on the show, and that Tamora Morrison is on the show playing Commander Cody in some flashbacks here and there. I mean, people have been speculating, I've been speculating that Tamora Morrison could show up in this show. Excuse me a moment, I'm getting a little parched. He could show up on this show, and but most people are saying, Boba Fett, maybe he could show up as Rex. I think it would be more cooler if Commander Cody was the person that he was playing on this show, and specifically as a kind of father figure for the Mandalorian / Pedro, which would be very cool, I think, and a very cool way to fold in some of legend stuff about Commander Cody, and filling in the blanks was right now, I believe he has not really been covered in canon stuff, Commander Cody, specifically as to what happened to him after Order 66. So it would be kind of cool to bring that in and show him off as, what his history was. And, I believe he actually died in the Legends because he was suffering from the accelerated old age. But I don't know if that's a real problem at that point anymore, because obviously we see Rex and he's older as well. But, he could have sped up in age as well. But regardless, that is kind of what I envision. I envision Commander Cody being on the show, being connected to the Mandalorian as a kind of father figure in flashbacks. So, and I think it fits in with the history of Mandalorian, talking about these Imperial academies and what Commander Cody's past was once in the Legends stories. So, that is kind of what I think. I think that is what's that could very well happen, or I don't know necessarily if it's going to happen, but I think it would be very cool if that was a kind of twist that they put on it, a kind of sub story within whatever story they're going to be telling on the Mandalorian on the TV show. So, I mean, to be honest, when I was breaking this down, I was thinking about putting in Rex as the character, like that would be connected to him. But I feel like Rex's story is kind of like we got a through line as to where that character was going after Revenge of the Sith, because he joins the Rebels and whatnot, and starts fighting alongside them. Commander Cody's the more interesting one, because I'm like wondering, it's like, that's where Rex went because he wasn't a part of Order 66. So let's see where Commander Cody went, and maybe throw in a couple more like interesting things that we could do with the character post Revenge of the Sith. And yeah, I think he would be a very good addition to the show. So that is my breakdown on it. Maybe not as elegant as Andrew's or James's, but I still think this would be a very cool thing to fold in Commander Cody into this show. So who is the Mandalorian? I think the Mandalorian is somebody connected to Commander Cody, and he went through the Imperial Academy on Mandalore. So that is my what I think. That is why I think the Mandalorian is. The show is, just over 2 weeks away. So literally count down the days, folks. November 12th, that is when Disney Plus drops. That is when the Mandalorian drops. And that will also be the day that Mandalorian Scum drops. That's right, we are doing this show. It will be hosted by me. I'll have multiple guests, everyone you love, whether it's Andrew, whether it's James, whether it's Brock, whether it's Josh. I'm going to hope to get onto it. And, some of you like Patreons, what am I doing here? Patrons who have been loyal to us. Some of you guys might wind up on this show as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking to bring in a wide assortment of talent, because that's what I consider you guys, because we are all talented people talking about Star Wars, I think, in some type of way, and we love Star Wars. So that was this episode. Who is the Mandalorian? Thank you for watching. Subscribe, watch our other videos, watch the other ones for Who is the Mandalorian, and thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you always.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.